we have heard about the challenges that AI is bringing in our modern world. You may wonder what is the role of software heritage in there. Afterwards, our original motivation was to create an archive for the long term and maybe a telescope to explore software source code, but not necessarily something to help AI. But actually, it turns out that it is important to use software to provide better AI, and this is the reason why the French government decided to find a project which is called CodeCommons, to actually expand and build around software to produce a common reference platform for actually having the best reference available database of software for doing massive analysis of source code, either for AI or other things. To tell you how we arrived there, I probably need to give you a little bit of a piece of history. If I manage to. Okay, the one. So, as we said with Stefano, when we started all this, we never envisioned to use generative AI, because actually generative AI was not even known back then. But in almost a year and a half ago, we were contacted by people who were interested in building models around the archive. And it was a clear question there needed to answer, that is, should we say yes? Should we say no? I mean, what are the reasons for saying yes or no? And after a large discussion with many stakeholders, we ended up publishing principles which are going to inform the way we collaborate with people that want to use the archive, which is actually knowledge collected from all of the world to build generative AI models. So the principles are basically three. One, we want the model to be open, and Stefano, don't kill me, I mean open in some sense, at least open weights, okay, so at least something like the Laman thing, I mean to let people reuse it. But that is not enough. We want also to have full transparency on what part of the archive has been used for training the model. This is very important because we want people to be able to check whether their code ended there, whether there are biases in the way it is used, whether for some reason the model is considered very good, but just because it includes the answer to the test which are used in the evaluation phase, for example. There are so many reasons. And finally, last but not least, since the registration is really not very clear, we wanted to work only with companies or entities or researchers which are okay to put in place an opt-out mechanism that allows developers that do not want to see their code used to actually opt out from the training. So this is very nice and good. There are nice principles. But if nobody wants to work with this principle, that is useless. Okay, so the big question is, okay, now you have published your principle. Is anybody actually going to do something about this? Well, the answer luckily was yes. Okay. Actually, it turned out that it was yes, it was possible. In February 2024, the Big Code project, where basically mostly Hugging Face service now was working, built a model called StarCoder 2, which was the best one available for coding back then, on top of the Stack V2, which is a subset of software heritage which contains only GitHub projects. And why only GitHub project? Because this is the place they use to set up an opt-out mechanism which is easily actionable for contributors. So I did not use all of software heritage here. But during this journey, we discovered this is pretty hard. And then when you go to generative AI for code, we have discovered there are quite a bunch of open issues. So first one, if you can move forward, Nicola, sorry, I'm based on you. Yes, first one, everybody doing models on code is basically downloading all of GitHub, all the time, all over again. You know, I mean, downloading is cheap, even if you're a big, especially if you're a big company, you just go into that. This is not the most intelligent or ecological thing to do, because everybody gets a copy of the same thing, which is not exactly the same thing, because it depends on what you download. So it is difficult to compare. It's very complicated. Then next problem is that after you download all this, I mean, this is not enough. This is raw data. You need to clean it up. You need to deduplicate. You need to perform some analysis to remove things which are not interesting. And everybody does it again the same way. So comes in another problem we faced. Next thing. Once people actually manage to keep up with the training data set, nobody tells you what is in there. Okay, so you do not know what has been used, there is no transparency whatsoever. And then also extracting subsets of this training data for specific function. I mean, it's very, very difficult because you don't have the data, you don't have the identifier of what has been used. And then we go on, so you test the models, and when you test the model, you need to iterate, see if maybe a smaller subset is enough to get in a better model, which is smaller. And after what you have seen, I mean, how many billions has lost the evaluation on NVIDIA in a couple of days? I mean, after this Chinese company, DeepSeek, announced they are super efficient, very small model, etc. Well, we don't know all the details, but apparently, I mean, this is also based on the fact they use better qualified data. So maybe it's not necessary to throw tens of billions of files in brute force to a training model. Maybe it is better to have the find very, very well qualified subset, and you can get better energy efficiency, a better result. And last but not least, especially for us coming from open source world, the lack of attribution of what the model presents is really, really an issue. 5, okay, thank you. Really, really an issue, because well, I'm an open source developer since a lot of time, and I do not pretend at all to represent open source developers, because we are a very diverse crowd. Everybody has different opinion. But one thing we really care about, I mean, at least most of us, is, well, just say thanks. Okay, acknowledge that this was my code. If you are reusing it, at least saying thanks is nice. Right? We would like to have it. So attribution would be nice. So when we have seen all of these issues coming, we decided to try to bring a solution. If we can get to the next slide, you should see a nice animation, which is less nice than on computer. But basically, CodeCommons is a project which is poised to actually try to bring a positive answer to all of these issues. One is to make available all the source code, but not just the source code, also the extra information necessary to train good models in a single place. So you download things only once, and you see for source code, we already do it in software heritage, but you need more. Then we want to have a standardized pipeline for cleaning up. I mean, deduplication is already done in software heritage, but you need neo-deduplication, removal of personally identifiable information, etc., etc. Then you want traceability. This is kind of easy, right? Because you have seen we have this spatial software hash identifier. So if you want to say I have used 1 billion files, you do not need to provide the 1 billion files. You just need to provide a file with 1 billion lines, one hashage that points exactly to what we have used. And by the way, if I can open a parenthesis, I do not know why this very simple, trivial idea on transparency cannot be used for all the rest. Okay? Having the transparency doesn't mean availability, okay? You only have the list of the things that have been used. Maybe you don't have the right, you don't have the access, but at least I know what you have used. And then ethics, we really would like to be able, ethics in the sense of having attribution, transparency, etc. We want to be able to see if a piece of code is similar to something which is in the training data set, to provide attribution and to inform you on the kind of use you can have. In current models, you cannot do it for a very simple reason. You don't even know what the hell they have been using for training. So what is the point? How can you check whether it is the same or not? So if we move forward, this is just the almost last slide. So let me give you a technical focus on what we plan to do. So we start from software, just the dark gray rectangles here. We have the source code, we have the history of development from over the planet with all the very well set up for doing machine learning. That's fine, but it's not enough. So we are partnering with GenC, with its national infrastructure for supercomputing here in France, to get access to scalable infrastructure. And starting from that, we will start adding to the archive all the context which is relevant for the project. In particular, issues, pull requests, comments, but more interesting, even more, connections with research articles, that is to say, the ability to know that a particular piece of source code, a particular project has been used in, 10,000 articles on protein folding. So that's interesting. It's a tagging done manually by researchers for ages that helps you finding in the archive what you want. And so if you want to ask to the system to say, can we provide me all the source code that actually is under a reasonable license for me, which is in the programming language, one of the programming languages I want to use, which is relevant for molecular biology, having this information is key. Okay, so next one, we want to, and there we do not start from zero, okay, so we build on top of existing project, in particular the software project you will hear more about after the coffee break. Then we want to add information about licenses, programming languages, vulnerabilities, all kind of other things which are relevant for the source code, code quality. And again, here we not start from scratch. We build on the beauty of software heritage security project that you have heard about earlier and many other things. And then we want to create this, the big graph you have seen of software heritage, which is a huge, we want to turn it into an attribution graph that allows to say this software actually belongs to or has been created, probably is the best origin is this one. Doing this is a huge project, but then we also need to incorporate all this extra information in a unified data model with proper indexing tools, and this will help us provide the two services I was mentioning before. Subset selection for specified qualified data set that you can use. Maybe tomorrow we have much better machine learning model with much smaller subset. And the second is this indexing system that allows you to check whether the result of a project or of a model, I mean, is something similar to what is in the archive. For doing this, we need to have another infrastructure, which is a big data infrastructure. And the dream in the AI, I mean, all of this is useful for many applications, but in the AI area, the dream is that then all model builders will not need to rebuild from scratch all these pipelines, but work with the one that we provide. And the model users will not just have to trust the model, but can check for similarity, origin, etc., with the content of the archive. I mean, this is a technical focus. There are a lot legal issues and focus that need to be solved, okay, but I just wanted to show you the technical focus. And last slide, and then we get a coffee break. If you want to learn more, there is a website which is called CodeCommons.org. You can get to the QR code there. And just yesterday, that's the reason why some of us didn't sleep a lot in the past days, we had actually the kickoff of the project at INRIA premises. There were 46 people. You have the picture here. Some of them are here, and you can talk to them. And it is a real pleasure to see actually so many research communities, because most of it's a research project right now, even if we want to provide a real infrastructure at the end. All these research community actively working together with us to solve issues that have significant societal impact. So I hope this explains to you why software is here when we talk about AI. It is not what was our original motivation, but it's definitely a place where we think we can provide value, and we will provide value, because providing tools and models that allow everybody to better use software is one of the ways of making the software heritage of our humankind available to everybody. So thank you very much. Let's take a picture and go get a coffee all together.